Imagine waking up one day and your faith is illegal. Imagine hiding your beliefs because one mistake could cost your life. Right now, in 2026, Christianity is restricted in multiple countries around the world. In some places, even owning a Bible is dangerous. Praying in public could get you arrested. And the last country on this list is the most shocking. Over 388 million Christians face persecution worldwide. That's more than the entire population of the United States. These aren't just numbers. These are real people, real families, real believers who risk everything just to follow their faith. Today, we're counting down 10 countries where being a Christian isn't just difficult, it's dangerous. Country number 10, Libya. Imagine living in a country where converting to Christianity could destroy your entire life forever. Libya, located in North Africa along the Mediterranean coast, has less than 1% Christian population. After years of devastating civil war, religious extremists control large parts of the country and enforce strict Islamic law. The government officially allows Christianity on paper, but reality is brutally different from what laws promise. Here's the shocking truth. Converting from Islam to Christianity is considered the ultimate betrayal of family and nation. Families completely disown their own children. Communities turn violent and aggressive. Many new Christians are forced to flee their homes, their countries, or face brutal death threats and assassination attempts from radical groups. Faith here is not freedom, it's survival. Can you imagine losing your family, your home, everything you know, just for believing differently? But the next country is even worse. Country number 9, Pakistan. Imagine living where your faith makes you a second-class citizen in your own homeland. Pakistan, home to 230 million people in South Asia, has only 2% Christians living in constant fear and discrimination. The country's infamous blasphemy laws are brutal weapons used against religious minorities every single day. Speaking about your faith in the wrong way can mean life imprisonment or an execution without trial. The most shocking rule, even being accused of insulting Islam can get you killed by angry mobs. No trial needed, no proof required. Just an accusation from anyone with power. Christian neighborhoods get burned down completely. Churches get bombed during services. Entire families mysteriously disappear without a trace. Every prayer could be their last moment alive. What would you do if your neighbors, people you see daily, wanted you dead for your beliefs? But wait until you hear about the next country. Country number 8, Nigeria. Imagine living where half your country's population wants to kill you for your faith. Nigeria is geographically and religiously split between a Christian south and Muslim-dominated north. With 95 million Christians, it should be safe, right? Absolutely wrong. In the northern states controlled by Sharia Islamic law, Christian churches are burned weekly without consequences. Pastors are kidnapped by armed gangs. Innocent children are forced to convert under threat and violence. Here's what's absolutely terrifying. Over 5,000 Christians were killed in 2025 alone in Nigeria. That's 14 deaths every single day across the country. Boko Haram terrorists hunt Christians like animals hunted for sport. They raid villages systematically, kidnap women for slavery, and execute men publicly as warnings to others. No churches, no freedom, no safety, no hope. Can you imagine watching your church burn while your own neighbors cheer and celebrate? The next country will shock you even more. Country number 7, Syria. Imagine living in a war zone where your faith makes you a target for every armed group fighting. Syria, torn apart by 13 years of brutal civil war and conflict, once had 2 million Christians living in peace. Now, less than 500,000 remain in the country. ISIS systematically destroyed ancient churches and religious sites. Other rebel groups kidnapped priests and church leaders for ransom. Even government-controlled areas aren't safe from religious violence and persecution. The shocking reality, Christians are caught in the crossfire between multiple armies fighting for control. Every warring faction sees Christians as enemies or useful hostages for negotiations. Many churches now look like military bunkers with thick walls. Prayers happen in secret underground locations. Children grow up never knowing what normal worship feels like or what peace means. Faith here is not worship, it's hiding for survival every single day. What would you do if your church became a dangerous battlefield surrounded by soldiers? But this next country is pure nightmare. Country number 6, Iran. Imagine living where converting to Christianity means you're officially an enemy of the entire state. Iran, with 85 million people ruled by strict religious government, has less than 1% Christians living in constant surveillance. The Islamic Republic considers Christian conversion an existential threat to national security and government control. House churches operate like underground resistance cells hiding from secret police everywhere. Here's the absolutely terrifying law. Converting from Islam to Christianity can result in 10 years in maximum security prisons or execution by hanging. Christian religious leaders are regularly arrested without warning and tortured in detention facilities. Even having a Bible written in the Persian language is strictly illegal and considered contraband. Secret police actively infiltrate churches to catch and identify new converts. Every single believer is hunted like prey by government agents. Can you imagine worshiping God in constant fear of arrest, torture, and execution? The next country gets even darker. Country number 5, Eritrea. Imagine living in a country where only 3 churches are allowed for the entire nation of millions. Eritrea, brutally called Africa's North Korea by human rights organizations, has 6 million people living under oppressive dictatorship. Only Orthodox, Catholic, and Lutheran churches can operate legally within this system. All other churches, denominations, and religious groups are completely banned and operate underground in complete secrecy and danger. The shocking truth: thousands of Christians rot in shipping containers converted into torture prisons with no toilets or windows, no trials, no lawyers, no hope of release. Pastor Helen Burhane was tortured for years just for singing Christian hymns and worship songs. Many prisoners simply vanish forever, their families never knowing if they're alive or dead. Faith here is not legal. It's revolutionary resistance against tyranny. What would you do if your government treated prayer and worship like dangerous terrorism? But wait until you see what happens in the next country. Country number 4, Sudan. Imagine living where your church can be demolished while you're praying inside it peacefully. Sudan, with 45 million people in Northeast Africa, has about 5% Christians facing constant danger and oppression. After decades of Islamic rule and military government control, harsh restrictions continue daily. Christian neighborhoods face constant attacks from government-backed militias armed with weapons and authority. Here's what's absolutely horrifying. In Darfur and other regions, Christians are systematically eliminated and erased from the land. Churches are burned to the ground completely. Women are kidnapped and brutally assaulted. Men are executed by firing squads. Children are sold into slavery for profit by armed groups. The government calls it ethnic cleansing, but survivors know it's religious genocide and mass murder. Every single Sunday could be your last day alive. Can you imagine arriving at your church service only to witness a horrific massacre unfold? The next country is pure evil. Country number 3, Yemen. Imagine living where being Christian means you don't officially exist in your own country. Yemen, devastated by 9 years of devastating civil war and conflict, has maybe 3,000 Christians remaining. This is down from 40,000 Christians before the war started destroying everything. The country is controlled by Iranian-backed Houthi rebels who see Christianity as a Western disease spreading among their population. The shocking reality: there are officially 0 churches allowed anywhere in Yemen legally. Christian worship meetings happen in complete secret under threat of death. If caught, men face immediate execution by bullet or sword. Women face forced marriage to Muslim men. Children are taken away permanently and forcibly converted to Islam through indoctrination camps. Faith here is not just illegal, it's completely invisible and erased from society. What would you do if your entire religion was systematically erased from your entire homeland? But these next 2 countries, they're something else entirely. Country number 2, Somalia. Imagine living where simply admitting you're Christian is signing your own death warrant forever. Somalia, with 17 million people in East Africa, has maybe 1,000 secret Christians hiding for their lives. Al-Shabaab terrorists directly control most of the country and enforce brutal Islamic law. Their law is simple and final: convert to Islam or die. No exceptions, no mercy, no negotiation possible. Here's the absolutely terrifying truth: Christian children are hunted down like criminals and killed. Families kill their own blood relatives for converting to Christianity secretly. There are no church buildings anywhere, no Christian schools, no safe places for worship. Believers meet desperately in forests, caves, and abandoned buildings, always watching for death squads approaching. Every breath you take is borrowed time, living on borrowed grace. Can you imagine your own family members actively hunting you down to kill you for your faith? But nothing compares to our number 1 country. Country number 1, North Korea. Imagine living in hell on earth. where believing in God is worse than any crime or treason imaginable. North Korea, the world's most isolated and oppressive nation, has 26 million people trapped under dictatorship. Christianity is not just banned and forbidden, it's considered mental illness requiring punishment. The Kim family dynasty demands total and complete worship from every citizen. God is direct competition for their absolute power and control. Here's the most shocking truth of all. Approximately 70,000 Christians are locked in concentration camps called Kwanliso. Entire families are tortured for 3 generations if one person is caught believing secretly. Children are taught by government to report their own parents immediately for praying alone. Christians are used for deadly medical experiments. They're starved systematically, beaten regularly, executed publicly as examples to others. Pastor Han was caught with a Bible hidden in his possession. They made his own children watch as soldiers crushed his skull with hammers until death came. Faith here is not forbidden. It's a death sentence for your entire bloodline for generations. Every prayer is an act of ultimate courage and heroism facing certain death. For millions around the world, faith is not freedom. It's a life-threatening risk every single day. Every Sunday, they choose between physical safety and spiritual salvation, knowing one choice means death. Every prayer could be their last moment alive. Every Bible could be evidence used against them in execution trials. Tonight, while you sleep peacefully in safety, thousands of Christians will worship in caves, forests, and hidden rooms across the world. They'll risk everything, their families, their lives, just to say, I believe in God. Freedom of belief is still a privilege in many parts of the world, a privilege many will never experience. The question is, what will you do with the freedom they'll never have?